All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. I'm your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you very much, as always, for locking in, whether it's on Spotify or Apple on the audio side, or whether you're checking us out on YouTube on the video side. It is Tuesday. What's today's date, Joe? I don't even know.
The
21st,
22nd.
22nd?
22nd, yeah.
I think this snowstorm makes me lose sight of everything that's going on. Joe Yerdon, Maintenance Day Podcast, noted hockey Substack, sports media personality. Well, you know what? We're going to talk Bills and Sabres. It's been a wild couple days here in Western New York. Were you here? I don't think I've asked you this before. Were you living in? I think you were living in Buffalo in 2014.
Oh yeah,
first November. Were you here for that?
Oh yeah. You remember? I know, like, social media platforms have been big in the news lately for, probably not all the best of reasons, but you remember Vine?
Yeah,
it was like a video thing. I did a Vine outside of the arena. That the day the storm came in and buried South Towns. Because it was kind of exactly how this one played out, where you could stand outside and say, like, oh, there's the snow line right there down the street. And where I was standing on one of the streets next to Key Bank Center. And like from where I was standing in the street, if you looked, I looked up, looked to the left, it was clouds, gray skies, looked to the right, blue skies and sunny. And then there's like some, flakes kind of like falling in on me from the left side, and it's sunshine and beautiful over here. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take a video of this one and do this, and did something, 7 seconds of video. And it was kind of stupid and funny. It was funny to me. I don't think it was funny to anybody else, but like, it's funny to me to just be like, wow, Doom over here. Oh, it's nice. It's just one of these things. But that was wild. That, like, and weirdly enough, there was also there was a Sabres game that day. And there was like, 2 or 3, like 2 of the team doctors couldn't make it in. Like Pat Coletta was all snowed in and down in Angola, and like all the handful of other guys were just stuck down there. And that was also the night Arthur's Urbe had to dress because Michael Neuvert went down hurt in that game. It was against San Jose. Right. Michael Neuvert got hurt. Jonas Enroth went in, and then they're like, well, we need an emergency goalie. Well, the assistant coaches used to be an NHL star. Got him a jersey, got him some pads, got him out there on the bench ready to go. And I was like, I don't wish anything bad for Jonas, but I just want him to kind of be like, ow, I'm hurt. Ow, Arthur's, get in there. I just wanted to see it one more time. But
well, dude, you got one incredible hell of a memory, at least when it comes to sports stuff.
That was a memorable night, though.
Notable events.
Crazy. That was a crazy night.
So this storm, I think, and I did some research to look up, at least in terms of snow totals. This storm that we've just went through pretty much is parallel with what we went through in 2014. I think the biggest difference is we expected it now, and you've lived through this before. So this wasn't like one of those first time, oh my God, I can't believe how hard it's snowing, because we literally saw it before. We saw the city, essentially get paralyzed by snow over the course of a couple of days. It was still, an incredible sight to see. Visually, it looked great. Schematically it sucked. You know what I mean? It just shuts shit down. But I think the fact that in 2014 it was new. We've been through blizzards here in Buffalo, and I'm sure you've seen some extreme weather even before you got to Buffalo. But we had never seen anything like 2014 where it just snowed that hard, that quickly, for as long as it did. And like I said, the snowfall totals here were just as impressive as 2014. It's just I think that we were more prepared. We knew it was coming too. Let's give some.
We were prepared for the one in 2014. I think it was just the ferocity of and how much came down, and the fact that it didn't move. This storm was different because it moved up and down. It covered everybody.
Yeah,
but the last one was just strictly, it was Cheektowaga and South, and and Angola. Like all those areas were just buried.
Yeah, I think, and this time I think it actually snowed harder over the course of 24 hours. In fact, I know in Orchard Park, they set an all-time state record, the most snow ever in the history of the state hit Orchard Park.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. I'll tell you this too. You know what? and you see this all the time, and I'm sure you've talked some shit about them. I know I do. I'm criticizing weather people all the time, and everyone says it's the easiest job in the world. You just guess, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. They're always wrong.
No,
I tell you what, in this case,
hard.
they were spot on because
Yes.
I heard from time for days and days and days, starting at around 7 p.m. on Thursday was when this shit was going to start. And it was funny because Thursday night, last Thursday,
Beginning of the week, they had it. They're like, this is going to be bad.
right?
Everybody better get ready.
Yeah. I mean, I went into Wegmans. I might have been Wednesday, like no bread. I had bread anyway, so but I took a couple photos. There was like no bread to be found, barely any milk to be found. You know how it gets when there's going to be a storm coming. But anyway, so Thursday, when again, it's been reported now for a couple days that this was going to start Thursday around 7 p.m. And I don't know. I'm just naturally a little skeptical of weather people. So I'm at work on Thursday. It's around 6:30. I took a couple deliveries and I get back to the restaurant and it's busy. And all of a sudden on the clear blue sky, it's like we're closing at 7. The restaurant, which don't ever close, by the way, there's very few times that the restaurant I work at ever closes.
Right.
Anyway, so that was unplanned and out of nowhere. We're closing at 7:00. I'm like, damn, really? Because I look at 7:00, there's like no snow out there at all. None, 0. At least in South Buffalo, I should say. Okay. Let me, I don't know. Maybe it was snowing somewhere else by that time. But in South Buffalo, where I was, 0 snow at 7:00. We start the process of cleaning up, breaking things down, all the closing duties that we have. And 20 after 7, 7:30, it's starting to snow pretty damn hard. I get out of the restaurant at about 7:40. I actually got to brush my car off already because there's already enough snow on it that I need to brush it. I go to Wegmans, get some more essentials. And by the time, which was, I don't know, maybe 7:45, 7:50, Joe, I swear to God, it was on Orchard Park Road. My house is maybe 5 minutes up the road. Literally could not see 10 feet in front of me. By the time I got to Orchard Park and Ridge and the last like quarter of a mile, my street, I missed the turn. I couldn't even see the sign. I went past my street, went on the wrong side of the street because I thought I was turning and I was about to turn into somebody's house. Found a store parking lot that wasn't yet full of snow. Saw the light, so I recognized it, turned around, and then I went real slow, found my street, and eventually got into my garage. But I mean, they were within an hour completely accurate. It was it was pretty wild, man. I took a couple, nothing crazy. Like I said, I'm not really that good of a photographer, but if you're watching this on YouTube, this is my front yard by Friday afternoon. And I was in West Seneca, by the way. And West Seneca, they didn't get the most snow, but we were up there. Anyway, this is a picture of we got a lot. We got a lot. This is my front yard. And this is like my back deck. You can see here, the rails almost covered by Friday afternoon with snow. It was, like I said, it was really cool, but at the same, again, haven't seen it in 2014. It wasn't quite as nuts. But anyway, the complete snow totals I saw on Channel 4. They put up a graphic as we're taping this late on Monday. Hamburg kind of came out of nowhere. Orchard Park was winning this race the whole time, and they ended up with 80 inches. Hamburg ended up sneaking out in front. They had the most snow of anyone in Western New York at 81.2. Then it went Blaisdell at 76 inches. Dude, that's a lot of snow, man.
Yeah.
A lot of snow.
Orchard Park did all that, like 77 of that in 24 hours.
Right. So, I mean, you're looking at the top 10 here. That's pretty much, there's 10 different parts of Western New York that ended up getting like 4 feet of snow. And again, this was all in a matter of what, a day and a half. It was just, it was crazy. Now, I live in West Seneca. I'm going to be honest with you. You live in the city. I know historically, at least anyway, that the suburbs are much better at plowing and, getting shit in order than the city. I don't know how it was. How was it near you? Again, you live kind of like on the west side. I got to give West Seneca credit, man. They did a really good job of at least getting some of the streets done.
Let me tell you. Well, if you live on a side street, forget it. Like you're in bad shape. Like it some of it's not as bad because I mean there's side streets around my neighborhood. Obviously, not everything's a main drag around here. And some of them are okay. Like I've got a very low to the ground, low profile, sporty kind of car. It's not a sports car. Don't get it confused. But like mine's not really it's not really built for for this kind of weather. Now, I've managed it pretty well. I've managed to keep it on the road. I haven't had any serious problems, so I'll count that as a win. But when you're doing like you're doing like Moon Patrol bump and jump down the side streets, and you're just kind of you're like, okay, all right. But they've usually, I don't know, the plowing part is usually sketchy, and it's always, this is where the mayor of Buffalo always gets on people. He's like, well, people got to do their part for things. Shut up, please. But also, people got to do their part and get their friggin' cars like off the plowed side of the street. And my neighborhood kind of took care of that this time. People were just like, we ain't gonna be parking in slush for the next 2 weeks. So let's move our car. So the thing that kills me though is that the side that they plowed on Monday, the other side won't get touched until Thursday, which at that point it's like 4 days of melting snow, and it's
right.
It's,
It might be gone.
It's gonna be a gross mess. And
yeah,
just like do it like 2 days, 1 day park on one side, 1 day park on the other, plow both sides, get it all cleared, get to the side streets, take care of all that stuff, be done with it, call it a day, and then do whatever, instead of letting it sit on one side of the road for like a week until it gets plowed out. Like, come on. But the city doesn't handle this stuff very well at all, which blows my mind. It's blown my mind since the day I moved here. Like, because first winter here, I was like, they're gonna snow removal is gonna be great. They're gonna take care of business. No, it's horrible. They don't do it's inexplicable how a city like Buffalo, that is like the snow capital of America, can't have it down to a science of how to get rid of it. It's crazy.
That goes back all the way to when I was a kid growing up on the west side of the city of Buffalo. I have a Mayor Messiello. I remember the jokes, and they weren't jokes because it was true. Like his street, it was somewhere off, either on Richmond or off Richmond Avenue. It was like one of the few streets that actually would get plowed in the winter when it snowed.
I will say though, I like how that they put GPS units in the plows now, and people used it immediately to find. They're like, oh, let's look at Byron Brown Street in his neighborhood, and like none of the streets were plowed out except his, and it was like, that's weird. Then like suddenly the thing malfunctioned, it wasn't working anymore. I go, yeah, I bet I know why.
It was funny. So you were talking about your car, and I'm thinking about mine. All right, well, if you think your car is not made for Buffalo winter, I have a 2009 Chrysler Sebring, front wheel drive only, Florida car that I got in Florida this past year, literally a canvas convertible. So needless to say, now I'm fortunate. We have I have a garage. So I got it again. I mean, it was really, really bad driving home from work on Thursday night. However, it was only a couple inches on the ground. It was just snowing so hard that I couldn't see. But once I got home, I parked that bitch right in the garage, and it literally, we're taping this like at the end of the night here, Monday night. My car has not left the garage. I haven't had to leave. I work from home on Monday, so I don't got to worry about leaving the house again, probably actually, if I don't want to, until Wednesday. But anyway, so I avoided that. My son's got a car, and then we have, you've been in my house before. There's a girl who lives upstairs. So we have a 2-car garage, but 3 cars between us. So it's kind of a lot of maneuvering. My son spent, I wish I would have had a picture to put up on YouTube. He was literally, his car was buried in, and he spent 3 hours. I want to say it was Saturday afternoon. It was Saturday afternoon. 3 hours, him and girl upstairs, because again, I ain't shoveling. I can't shovel. They spent 3 hours shoveling out. That's how bad it was. And that's with the plow, by the way. We have a plow. We have a plowing contract, our house does.
Yeah.
So that was even with the plow, because it was too much snow. They could only get halfway into the driveway. So we were on our own for the second half.
Did you, see the pictures that I posted of my car on the street?
No, I didn't see them. Did you tweet them?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. Because I was digging it out while the Bills game was going on, because it was nice and quiet outside. Because everybody was watching the game, so I was like, all right, well, I can take care of business now. That thing took me like 2 hours to dig out my car, and it's on the street. And that's not even like digging out one side of it, because the one side is like right by the curb and everything, so it's pointless.
That's crazy.
But yeah, man, it was a lot. It was plowed, like that's like a day of plowing, just like dumping ice, garbage, snow on top of it.
Sure,
whatever.
I've just stayed home. I haven't done anything. Well, I've eaten. I bought snacks on Thursday. I bought a shitload of snacks. I'm like, all right, I'm good for 3-4 days. No lie, I swear to God, by Saturday morning, I was out of snacks. That's all I did. I ate Christmas trees. I ate zebra cakes. I ate cookies,
Oh man.
all kinds of chocolate. I
Mhm.
freaking literally have not stopped stuffing shit in my face pretty much since Thursday. Like I said, I still haven't left the house. And I
Wait,
watch
wait, wait.
Christmas movies. Oh,
When you say Christmas trees, do you mean like the ones that are like zebra cakes, but they're Christmas tree shaped?
yes.
Okay.
However, the best Christmas trees are the ones with the white filling, the white ones with
Yep.
the cream filling.
Mhm.
I bought chocolate ones and they're
Oh,
nowhere near as good as the
I
original.
didn't know they made
They
chocolate ones.
do. They weren't as good. I was really mad at myself over that. So yeah, I've just stuffed my face and I've eaten or I watch Christmas movies. I've watched not just six Christmas movies.
Mhm.
Joe, since Thursday, I've watched six Christmas movies that are 2022 Christmas movies, like movies that are just came out this year.
What?
I've six of them. I'm
What?
telling you right now.
Why?
What else am I gonna freaking
Why?
do, man? I don't know.
Can't
There's only so much
watch
shit I
better
could do at
Christmas
home.
movies? I don't know. It's
I
my
like.
idea.
I kind of like. And my Christmas. Oh, by the way, my Christmas tree's up. So the
Okay.
lights are on.
That's
Christmas
not
came
surprising.
early. And in fact, some people, friends of mine, were blaming me for the storm because I put up my shit too early. But anyway, yeah, man, I don't even know if you know that they made a sequel of this, but A Christmas Story, the movie that
What?
plays for 24
Wait,
straight
wait, wait,
hours.
wait, 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 wait. Hang on. What do you
Mhm.
mean there's a sequel to it? Did they just make this?
Yes, just came out. I watched it 2 days ago on HBO Max. It's just came out within the last maybe 2 weeks,
When
week,
when was the first one? Was that 1980? Was that
1983.
83? Good lord.
Mhm. Yep,
So we're
1983.
talking 40 years later, they made a sequel.
Yeah, the original was set.
How many people from the first movie are in the second one? None?
No, you're
Peter
wrong.
Billingsley, is he it?
Here's the crazy part. So it's called A Christmas Story Christmas. That's the sequel.
Okay.
And it's narrated by an adult Ralphie. And Ralphie is the same character. So he's in it. His
Mhm.
little brother in the original's there. I
Andy.
forgot the names. Two of his best friends were there. The bully from
Flick.
the original is there. Flick is in the movie.
Scott
Yes.
Farkus?
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
oh my god.
Yeah. The
Wait,
villain,
wait,
the
wait,
bully.
wait. Now, are these the original people?
Yes. They're the same people from the original. They're in this movie. And
Okay.
setting wise, the original is in the 1940s. This sequel
Yeah.
that just came out is set in the 70s. The one difference is the mother. I forgot the character's name or the real actress's name. She
Yeah, she
retired. So
okay.
his mother is played by somebody else who's still alive. Julie Haggerty. Remember her? She was in Airplane. She was
Oh,
on
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
She
Mhm.
plays Ralphie's mother in the sequel. The father is not in the movie. I believe the father's
Yeah,
not even
Darren
alive in
McGavin
real. Yeah,
died.
he died
He
in
died
real life.
a while
All right.
ago.
Well, here's a spoiler alert because it's a central part of the movie anyway. But the father dies in the sequel. He's obviously never in the
Oh,
movie. But anyway, yeah, I
right.
watched that. There's a brand new Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds movie called Spirited. That's out. That was on Apple TV. It's kind of
Okay.
like a spinoff of not a spinoff, but a unique take on A Christmas Carol, like the Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm not going to get in all the movies I watch. Point being is my lazy ass is watch six Christmas movies, new ones, stuff my face nonstop for 4 days, and watched a lot of football. I'm pretty
Wow.
much
I
that's
had
about it.
I had to look it up. The woman who played the mom in that was Melinda Dillon. She was in Slapshot,
Yes,
which
yes.
freaks people out if you've only watched A Christmas Story and you're like, oh, she's really nice. And you watch Slapshot, you're like, oh my god, okay, I didn't expect to see her.
She's still alive.
Like that. Yeah, no,
She's retired. She's
very
retired.
surprised to see that.
Yeah, she's retired. So she didn't have interest in doing it. She retired like a decade ago. But yeah, besides her, surprisingly, it's almost the entire cast of the
Wow,
originals.
that's
They're all back.
that's nuts, man. Like that's I'm genuinely stunned. Now, mind you, I don't think a lot of them are still acting a lot or ever now. Like I don't know if that's the case. By the way, yeah, she's 83. Holy crap, man. Yeah, so
I'll
like I'm blown away. I blown away that they made a sequel. B that it's got all the same people in it. Like, geez.
Yeah, and two quick things to tie up what we've talked about before we get into some football here, and I'll end it with this. The sequel, again, I don't want to get into too many details. The sequel was all right. It was all right. It was a more nuanced plot this time around. There's more emotion. Like the first one's all about him trying to get the BB gun, and that's pretty much what the entire movie's about, and all the shenanigans, growing up and all that. This is a little more adult plot oriented with his dad dying and just things
Mhm.
around that. it's not a bad movie. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to the original,
Right.
but it's not a bad movie. It's not a complete shit box of a sequel like you might think it would be. Pretty good. And
I might have to watch it just
it's
for
more I
I've
think
seen
it's
the original one 1,000 times, and I
I
love
think
it.
it's worth it. I do. I think it's worth it. I mean, it's not you're not going to put it on your top 5. Like if we someday when we do our starting 5 draft again, we're never doing Christmas movies because you still I'll never get over the embarrassment from last year when
They
you at
trashed you.
89%. It's to this day. Somebody I know somebody tweeted. Remember last week they were talking about that, and
Mhm.
I said that was the biggest blowout in the history of our draft. Joe got 89% of the vote in our Christmas movie draft
Yep.
last year. But anyway, my point is it's not going to be in your top 5 or anything like that. But I do think reasonably you'll enjoy it. It
Okay.
was pretty good. And then the other thing I want to talk about, I want to circle back to the snow. I will say, you hear the moniker City of Good Neighbors, and I think for the most part it's true. And then, just like anywhere else in the world, Joe, you got your scumbags, your assholes
Right.
that can give your neighborhood a bad reputation. But all in all, I really do. I know all the stories about the people, civilians shoveling out the bills and stuff like that. It's cool. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But there has been, I saw something on Facebook, and I'm not a meme guy. Like I don't usually take memes
I'm
and
surprised
share
by that.
them.
I would have
And
thought you were a big meme
no,
guy.
I'm not a meme guy, but I did see it. No, no, it's not a meme, but this was a post from someone on Facebook.
Okay.
Let me read this real quick, and then we'll get into the show here. So he says that his name's Benji. Dear rest of America, pay close attention to the city of Buffalo. While people would be losing their ever-loving minds anywhere else in the country, Buffalonians will be turning the wall of snow that blocks their front driveway into backup fridges, and they'll be sledding off roofs. I mean, that's a little ridiculous when they're not shoveling the snow off to keep the roofs from collapsing beneath the weight. But what they won't be doing is panicking. They won't be looting and turning into nasty neighbors. In
Boy.
fact, they'll do quite the opposite. They'll be digging each other out while telling stories about nastier storms and tougher situations. They'll be checking on the senior adult neighbors to make sure they're okay. They'll be sharing their food, their generators, their smiles, because this will be another great story to tell once the digging is done. After living here for 7 years, there's no place in the world I'd rather be in a national emergency than with the ever tough but always neighborly people of Buffalo. I think there's a lot of element of truth to that. I think it's a little bit of pandering, though. But
There's a lot of pandering in that.
you do see, I will say this, man. I do see a lot of people helping each other out when it comes to storms like this. I do
Yeah.
think you see the best of people. Again, not entirely true. A lot of that, again, some pandering, some bullshit mixed in there.
Oh, yeah.
But it is nice to be in the city of good neighbors. And
Yeah.
I do think at times that the reputation lives up to its name. And I personally have seen a lot of people helping each other out during this, and that is a cool aspect of it.
Yeah. No, I got a hand digging my car out yesterday. A fella named Diamond was digging out his girlfriend's car on the street, and he saw me, slogging along by myself trying to dig out my car. And he's like, "Hey, man, you want a hand?" I was like, "You sure about that? Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to, like, I don't know you. You don't have to do that." And he's like, "No, no, man. Like, let me help you out." He's like, "You're almost done with it anyway, so let's just finish the job." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Got it done, got it done real fast. And like, dude, I mean, we both worked our ass off to do it, but like, but if he didn't help out, I would have been out there shoveling for like another 40 minutes, maybe. So I very thankful for that. It saved me some
Sure.
trouble. And who knows, maybe, I know, knock on wood, my shoulder has been great through all this, which is
Oh,
stunning.
I forgot
I,
about that.
I
That's right, man. You've been coming off
very,
surgery and
oh
shit.
yeah. Yeah. Like it was in July, man. It was
Yeah.
four
Fuck, I
months
forgot.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, feels great, does great. Like I did awesome. Of course, now I do that, and I'm just like, what did I do? But yeah, no, it was stuff like that's nice. It's nice to get to be out there, like get help somebody out. I mean, obviously, in my position, Diamond's I'm guessing is a fair bit younger than I am. So he sees me and he's like, here's this middle-aged guy out here. He's slogging away, he's sweating his ass off. Let's give him a hand. And yeah, hey, I ain't gonna say no. I mean, I almost said no because I was just like, no, man, you don't have to do that for my car. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice. Like, that stuff happens, man, and it's cool. It's cool to see that.
It is. A
Like that
neighbor.
thing that you shared though, man. That reminded me of like every time there's like like an NHL guy that gets hurt or like, breaks his face open or some crap like that, and then somebody gets a picture, takes a picture of him, and it's like the guy comes back to the game. And they're like, oh, yeah, this guy, dislocated his head and he came back 5 minutes later. LeBron gets a hangnail and he's out for a week. It's like,
Right.
get over yourself, please. Like, this is like the weather, like local person version of that. And
I agree 100%. There was, my mother-in-law lives in Lackawanna, and a neighbor used her plow because her car would have been completely snowed in, and they plowed them out. And again, didn't ask for any money. There's good people. I mean, there's bad people too, but all in all, there's good people. But anyway, the snow obviously affected us, all of us, to some extent, and affected the Buffalo Bills in a very big way, to the point that Aaron Quinn and I taped our podcast on Thursday morning, and by the time I got to be around, I don't know, lunchtime or so, sometime mid-afternoon, we found out that the Bills weren't even going to be playing football in Orchard Park on Sunday. They moved the game to Detroit. A lot of people were pissed off and bitching about that. I think it was the right call.
Yes,
I
it
think
was.
it was a no-brainer.
Right.
And you got to do it early. People are like, well, see how much it snows first. Because again, going back to whether people are always wrong, well, you got to have time to prepare and plan for stuff. And playing an NFL game is more than, it's not like you and I going to fucking All High Stadium and getting a pickup game together with our boys if it doesn't snow too much. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Anyway, as for the game, the Bills did win 31-23. They're 7-3 on the season. Not going to go through like the whole game again, but again, it's Tuesday. The Bills got another game in just 2 days against your squad, which is going to be fun. The Detroit Lions.
It's not going to be fun. It's going to be fun for you guys.
Well,
although the Lions are playing decent right now.
They smacked Detroit. I mean, they smacked New York.
They smacked the Giants
in New York too.
I felt bad. That's my dad's team. And I was like, of all the weeks for the Lions to totally figure out it's against your team.
The NFL's so crazy. It's just crazy. They go and they play the Giants at home and they just smack the shit out of them. But anyway,
it's a road game, but like they don't win on the road. They don't win at home either, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, the turnaround is going to be quick. So again, 2 days from when people are hearing this, the Bills will be playing again over some turkey. And look, the running game, that's obviously was the big takeaway from the Bills. For the first time this season, they found a running game. They stuck to it. They committed to it, and it paid off. We've been saying for weeks and weeks on this podcast. You've said it. I've said it. Josh Allen can't do everything. You can't put everything on his shoulders every single week and expect great results. And we've seen some pretty shitty results over the last couple of weeks because it's caught up to him a little bit. Anyway, the Bills ran the ball excellent, 171 yards on the ground. James Cook, 86 yards. Devin Singletary, 86 yards. Cook looked explosive. He had a nice 29-yard run. I think you're going to see a bigger role for him going forward. Devin Singletary, to his credit, I've not been very high on him. I think he broke tackles after contact, something I have not seen much of. Let's not get too carried away, though, Joe, because Cleveland had the worst run defense in the NFL. But I don't give a shit. I don't care. You got to start somewhere. Right. They got the ground game going. We really don't need to talk about the running game. I wrote down 6 things that I kind of want to hit on with you, and we'll go through them, not necessarily, in painstakingly detail, but these are 6 things besides the running game that I really liked from the Buffalo Bills. Number 1, now I know you were shoveling for part of it, but I know you've seen enough of the game. You've read about it. You've heard about it. I know you know enough about the game to kind of discuss it with me.
I did catch a good part of the second half. So basically, from the moment I turned it on, the Bills figured out how to play football again. So you're welcome, everybody.
You know what? Before we get into these 6 things I like, one thing I did not like was my remote control came really close to going through the television set at the end of the first quarter. Yeah, I was livid. It was pathetic and embarrassing the way they came out, lifeless. I kind of calmed down a little bit because I started thinking that maybe the weather and the change of plans and the having to run on the fly and only one practice during the week and having to get out of your home on Saturday. Again, I think maybe that stuff might have played a role in them being really lethargic early on, and they did step it up by the end of the half. But anyway, my point was,
so anyway, Cleveland had to do the same thing, except they weren't getting snowed on. It's still
right, but they were always going on the road. So, they always had that mindset. I think the game, and plus I was really mad early on because I thought this was a huge advantage for Buffalo. I actually preferred, if you would have told me, forget the snowstorm, if you would have told me on Thursday you could either play in Orchard Park at home with snow and win against the Browns, or you could go play them in a dome, I would have said, please, let's play them in a dome. Bills speed, their passing game, the Browns, big, strong running game. I thought it would be a big advantage for the Bills. Was not early on, but not because of Nick Chubb. They stopped Nick Chubb. But anyway, circling back to the 6 things I like beyond the running game, Matt Milano, dude, I'm telling you, we've talked about him in this podcast. 12 tackles, 8 solo. I don't even need notes in front of me because I got this shit memorized, man.
He had
a big sack. He had a fumble recovery. He had 3 tackles for a loss. He almost had an interception. By the time you're listening to this, he might be AFC Defensive Player of the Week. This guy's just been freaking incredible, man. And he's getting to the point now where I would not be the least bit surprised if he can stay healthy, which is not a given. You're talking he's going to forget Pro Bowl. I think he might be an all pro this year. I really do. I think he's one of the best 2 or 3 linebackers in the NFL. His teammates love him. There's very few guys that are playing better than Matt Milano right now.
Yeah, no, he's been outstanding. He was great. Yeah, he's great against Cleveland. That was a super game for him. Seeing him in the backfield a lot like that is, he doesn't get asked to blitz a lot. Like, that's just not what they need him to do. They need him to tackle. They need him out in coverage. They need him to kind of make sure nobody's taking advantage of him underneath. But seeing him get in the backfield as regular as he was rushing Brissett. Brissett, didn't really have any idea where the blitzes were coming from. So that's good on Frazier and the crew to kind of change up the look. So it's not always like, oh, where's Von Miller? Okay, they're coming from that side. Like, right. That's where it's coming from. Instead, they changed it up a lot, and they didn't have Miller decoy, but like, they changed those looks, and that guy, Milano, the sack that he had was, untouched, basically. He just be able to run past the blocker and was right on top of him. So that's a great job by him. That's great work by Frazier calling it. I know there were some struggles early in that game, and I know, like, the end of the game, like, they kind of take their foot off the gas. Whatever, who cares? You're up by 3 scores. It doesn't matter. It's 2 minutes to go. It's crap, but I think you're right. He should be all pro. I want Bills fans to make a promise to me right now, though. When they start naming Pro Bowl people, ignore every bit of it. Don't care about it. Don't give a shit. Just pretend it didn't happen. Focus on what the writers vote for the all pros at the end of the year. That's the one that matters, not the Pro Bowl, because some 9th string guy from the Houston Texans is going to go to the Pro Bowl because 50 other guys said no because they got better shit to do. Like, just no. I don't think they're even playing a game anymore. But, like, please just focus on the all pro stuff. That's why it was great for Hyde and Poyer. Like, yeah, they're both all pro. Yes. Yeah, they don't need to go to the goddamn Pro Bowl. Please, just okay. I had to get that out. I wanted to establish that before anything happens, before the season's out.
All right, I'm back with Joe Yerdon. We're discussing some things besides the running game that I really liked about the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. Ed Oliver, right off the bat, when the Bills were playing like shit early on, Joe, there were very few guys that looked like they came to play. But Ed Oliver was one of them. I thought he was fantastic. 5 tackles, 3 for a loss. He was in the backfield a lot. Again, a very big part of a defensive front that completely stymied Nick Chubb. One of the best, maybe arguably the best running back in the NFL, if you don't want to say Derrick Henry. He was held to 19 yards on 14 carries. I did not see that coming before this game, especially the way teams have run on the Buffalo Bills of late. So anyway, Ed Oliver was fantastic. And another guy who, and he's also on this list, he returned after missing a couple games, Jordan Poyer. He made an impact right away as well. Like I said, the Bills were sleepwalking in the first quarter. Ed Oliver and Jordan Poyer were maybe 2 of the only guys that were there from the first snap. He had a really good pass breakup on the tight end early in the game. A kind of play which I thought, I'm like, man, Cam Lewis does not make this play. This is a completed pass. Or who's the other side? Jaquan Johnson. These plays are getting made and Poyer's not out there. He broke a pass up. He had a really nice tackle early on, kind of set the tone that the defense was going to be physical. So we'll throw those 2 in the same point there. Ed Oliver and Jordan Poyer really made a big difference.
I'll say that about Poyer. A guy like Njoku, the Cleveland tight end there, like that's dude's the one. He's a big dude and he's very athletic. We saw him he pulled a jumping over defensive guys thing this week too, but But having Poyer out there to watch him is such a it evens everything out. It balances that out because he goes
Yeah.
from being a guy that probably has an advantage, certainly against rookie safeties or whatever, and even against some of the linebackers too. Like if it's Njoku against like Edmonds or even Milano in coverage, kind of like his I like Njoku's chances a little bit better, but Poyer, I mean, he's all pro for a reason. I
Yeah.
mean, he makes the difference. That's what he does.
5-0 this year when he's there. 1-3 when he's not. I mean, or I'm sorry, 6-0 when Jordan Poyer plays. 1-3 when he doesn't. He's not solely responsible. The reason why they lost 3 games, that's not what I'm saying, is more than just his absence. But it's a big, big hole because the Bills are stocked with depth at certain positions, but then there's huge drop-offs at others. And the drop-off when Jordan Poyer's not out there and you got to go to Cam Lewis or you got to go to Jaquan Johnson, the drop-off is absolutely enormous. In terms of Ed Oliver, he looked like he did a lot of last year where I thought he was dominant. I haven't seen much of that this year. He's been pretty good. But if this is going to be a sign of things to come with Ed Oliver, you should be really excited about this Bills defense going forward. The next thing on that list that I had was Josh Allen in the second half. In the first half, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll throw the numbers out. That was maybe as uncomfortable as I've seen Josh look physically. I'm not talking about the elbow, grabbing the elbow. He just looked like he did not want to make a mistake. He I don't know. It was just weird. He just looked, I can't really explain it. I'm baffled. He just did not look good. He had one good throw to Gabe Davis and Gabe Davis dropped it, which has kind of been a problem this year. Although Gabe Davis, I thought had a good game as a whole. Got to be more consistent. But anyway, my point was,
although,
yeah, I know. I don't even know that Josh made a good throw in the entire first half besides that. I mean, he was throwing the ball over people's heads, just low, off to the left, to the right. You know, if he wanted to run, just he looked really, he didn't look like himself, not just mentally and physically, he felt off. Right before the half, he hit Stephon Diggs with that touchdown. Nice play. He bought himself some time with his legs, and then he got in a groove, I think, from there. Anyway, I think Josh Allen, second half Josh Allen, was really good and different than what we've seen this year. Stat-wise, 9 of 11, no touchdowns, but 9 of 11, 113 yards. What's the most important thing? No picks.
Right.
No turnovers. Josh Allen, after throwing 6 interceptions in 10 quarters, after throwing 4 red zone picks in 2 games, which still blows my mind. Josh Allen, after being responsible for a fumble on his own goal line that essentially cost them a game, we saw Josh Allen make no mistake. Like, there wasn't a pass in that game against Cleveland that was interceptable. Like, he didn't get a lucky break that the guy dropped it,
yeah.
I thought he was efficient. And I liked Sean McDermott really, really praised him hardcore after the game. And we've seen better Josh Allen. We've seen Josh just piss on teams because he's of his talent. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, run for 90 yards, whatever.
Right.
This was Josh, let the running game carry us on this game. You're going to be, not all the time, but in this game, you're kind of a game manager and take what the defense gives you. And on this game, this day, the defense was giving you the run. The defense was giving you the check down passes. Dawson Knox had 7 catches. Most he's had this year, tied a career high. Josh was taking what the defense gave him. I was very impressed with his patience. You know what I mean? So I thought this was a good game for Josh because of that. Not numbers wise, but a good game for him.
No, that's the exact kind of game he's needed after the last few weeks where a lot of it, and again, what was our criticism of him? He's trying to play hero ball, trying to do everything, forcing the issue, doing all that stuff. It's like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, great quarterbacks don't have to force anything. Like, you just make the best of what you got, rely on your teammates to take care of business. If you throw them the ball, like, they can take off with it, do whatever, get your first downs, do all that stuff. You don't have to, he doesn't have to throw for 900 yards a week. Like, it's unnecessary. Just be efficient, pile up your yards as they come, and just manage the clock, manage the games. Like, that's where it's at. I think this is still part of like the growth process for him, because all last year he was just piling up the huge numbers, all this, all that stuff, and you're just kind of like, wow, he's great. It's great. It's good. But you get into some of those scenarios where it's just kind of like, I don't know. And like, this year, teams, I don't know if it's teams getting wise to him, or if it's, just him maybe just kind of going through it for a few games or whatever the case is. But you don't, again, it's against Cleveland. You should beat them no matter what.
Sure.
You don't have to go Hulkamania on Cleveland. Like, you don't need to throw for 570,000 yards in a game and throw for 900 touchdowns. You don't need to do that to beat them.
The Bills are going to have to be, look, they're not going to run for 170 yards against every team they play. And Josh is going to have to play the way we've seen Josh Allen play at times for them to go far in the playoffs. There's no question about it. But again, you cannot put the weight of the world on your shoulders every single Sunday. We saw, as good as he is, we've seen him break down a little bit when you do that. So it's nice to have some balance in the offense. And we certainly saw that. That point, I kind of talked about him already, but the next one was Dawson Knox. Staying trusty. It'll be a key down the stretch for Josh, because look, just as Josh can't throw for 350 yards every game, you can't count on Stephon Diggs catching 12 passes a game either. He had 4 for 48 and a touchdown. Again, that gave him the lead before the half, which was obviously a huge play. But you got to have secondary options. And Gabe Davis, 4 catches, nice catches, but he had that drop. You still got trust issues with him. Dawson Knox was thrown to 7 times, and he caught all 7 passes, 70 yards. Very good game. Dawson Knox had 9 touchdowns last year. It would be nice to see him kind of continue to develop into a guy that Josh is going to trust, because the Bills are continuing to get nothing from this slot position with Isaiah McKenzie and Khalil Shakir. So I think that Dawson Knox is going to be a very big player for them down the stretch.
I give Shakir a little bit of I give him a break because he's a rookie.
Sure.
McKenzie, I can see everybody's.
It's not his fault he ain't playing.
Right.
He's not even playing.
Right. I think in McKenzie's case, though, I can see the patience with him running out with people. At least, just again, the casual perusal of social media, seeing what people say about things. Like the 2-point chance that he tried to run for and he just gets stymied. Like, okay, maybe that's a weird call of that situation. I don't know. But there's been, more often than not, there's been plays and situations where it's just kind of like, dude, what are you doing? Like, come on, like, figure it out, do something better, like, whatever. But I just don't see Shakir getting that opportunity right now with this team to be able to overtake him. Next year, different story.
Sure.
Next year's a totally different story. But a rookie in that spot, I don't think they're gonna throw him in like that to try to put the pressure on him.
I agree 100%. And I'm at least going to mention him because we've spent time talking about him in recent weeks, Odell Beckham Jr., and how he would be a nice help to this offense. I'm convinced he's going to Dallas. I'm highly convinced. Dallas is all they check all the boxes. They're a contender. They got the money. It's a high profile city. He would prefer to not be cold if all things are equal. And he could go to a team in Dallas that's got a great number 1 with CeeDee Lamb, but he could go there and be that number 2 guy right away. Whereas in Buffalo, who knows, what his role would be. So I'm pretty confident at this point Beckham's going to Dallas. Yeah, I agree with you about Shakir. I think it might take something happening in Isaiah McKenzie, like either making a really bad mistake or getting hurt for Shakir to get more looks at this point. I think Hines, we keep saying Hines is going to have a bigger role in this offense. It has not happened yet, but he might do some more slot stuff, gadget stuff. All right. And then the last thing that I really liked about this team, and this was an important factor in Sunday's game, Bill's special teams was really, really good. I mean, you had Tyler Bass go 6 for 6 on field goals, including a 56-yarder and a 49-yarder. And I mean, these weren't barely getting through or, just going inside the cross post, man. I mean, these were kicks right down the middle of the field. They were great. I mean, Tyler Bass, you got to think, man, if he only played in a dome, the efficiency this guy would have, man, he was really good.
Those are dome kick specialties right there.
Sure.
Like 70 yards, no matter.
Well, hey,
okay.
Sticking on that point though. All right. So the Bills made 6 field goals, 6 for 6. They blocked a field goal from Cleveland. So that was big. So the Bills defense had a block on a field goal. Nyheim Hines had a nice 29-yard punt return that set up the Bills' first field goal. He had a couple nice returns during the game. And then another kind of under the radar play, and you're kind of hinting at it a little bit. Near the end of the game, Cleveland kind of made a go of it. They get down to 8 points. Onside kick at the end of the game. Weird bounce. Gabe Davis misplays a little bit. Ball's in the air. Tywan Jones comes flying in and gets that ball on the ground and eventually gets that ball out of bounds to make sure that Cleveland doesn't recover. So yeah, the Bills special teams, sometimes special teams don't really matter, but it mattered on Sunday. I mean, the Bills, they had a nice punt return to set up a field goal. They blocked the field goal. They kicked 6, and they made sure that Cleveland did not get an onside kick. So it was a really good game for special teams.
Was it a blocked field goal or was it extra point?
That's a field goal.
It was a field goal. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Because it was a close field goal.
Yep.
And it was, they were in that position where it's like, okay, get some points here, cut it down to 10. I think it would have cut it down to 10.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I forget what it was, but I want to know what that kicker's thinking, trying to smash a line drive from like 30 yards out. Like, dude, kick it up, sky it up in the air.
It was pretty low,
so somebody doesn't get it.
You know, you're kicking it too low when you can't tell by watching the replay, because it might have been Daquan Jones, it might have been Saran Neal. I think they both might have gotten in their hand on the ball to block it.
Watching that replay, I'm like, why are you kicking kicking at 9,000 miles an hour like at somebody's face? Like, come on.
So there's plenty to like about the Bills game. There's also some things to not like. For me, the biggest thing was cornerback, man. I mean, these corners right now, they can't make a play to save their lives, man. These past, and it's not just this game too, it was also the Minnesota game, which we all know. They can't make a play to save their life. And I like Dane Jackson. I think he's been a pretty good story, a 7th-round pick out of Pitt. I think this is his 3rd year. He's had some good moments. I think he potentially could be a pretty good number 2 corner. We've seen it before, but because of injuries, he's the number 1 corner right now. And dude, he has been absolutely abysmal these past couple of weeks, man. I mean, he's been really, really bad. Now, granted, Justin Jefferson is one of the best in the NFL. Amari Cooper is really good. But man, you got to make a play. You got to turn around. I mean, he's not even turning around. I want to put up a tweet. This was actually kind of funny. Kind of messed up, but also funny. I put up a tweet. I said, the only thing I'll say about Dane Jackson is that maybe when and if Trey is back as the true number 1, Dane won't be largely responsible for trying to contain guys like Justin Jefferson and Amari Cooper. Maybe it's unfair to evaluate him as the number 1 lockdown guy right now. And then somebody tweeted at me, Dane won't know when somebody is about to take the number 1 spot because he's physically incapable of looking over his shoulder. Meaning there was a ball, Amari Cooper, Brissett. Oh, by the way, I thought Jacoby Brissett played pretty damn well, man.
Yeah.
He threw a ball to Amari Cooper. I'm watching the game with Shane, my kid, and the ball's in the air. And so I said, ball. I said, beat. I started yelling, beat. I knew Dane Jackson got beat. Cooper beat him. Dane Jackson never even turned around until the ball was already in Cooper's hands. It's a problem, man. You know,
it's tough because half the job of the corner is like, you got to know where the ball. I mean, you got to know where the ball is at all times, right? Like you have to know. And like, you get an idea, you're watching, you're going down the field, you're watching the receiver's eyes, because that's your giveaway. You see the eyes get big, and then you're like, okay, it's coming. And like, I get it. Like, you can't always just like turn around and like be ready for it. Like, I get it. Like, the ball's coming too fast, it's coming in from weird angle, whatever. If you lose it for a second, that guy's going to catch it and he's gone. Like, forget it. But at the same point, you can't just be like running in front of the guy, just like waving your hands. You're like, no, like trying to do that and trying to play defense. That it's you're like, guys are too good. Like, receivers are too good to fall for that stuff.
Amari Cooper had 8 catches for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. And again, this is the week after Justin Jefferson scorched earth on them. Now Cooper, by the way, he spread it around too. He also beat Teron Johnson, who's a good slot corner, but he got the better of Teron a couple times as well. Christian Benford, I know he's, again, a 6th-round rookie. People really want to like him. He's made a couple plays here and there. He's a physical kid. He's only a rookie. He'll get better, but he's been pretty bad. Xavier Rhodes played some in this game. And Joe, I don't know if he's got anything left in the tank because they didn't throw at him. But it's like, why would you? If you got Dane Jackson and Christian Benford out there, why are you going to throw at Xavier Rhodes? Why are you going to test him?
Like, why you got to throw to your 3rd and 4th options against the guy who's, just getting back into the league when your top guys are burning the other starters. Yeah, it makes sense.
Good news is, again, as we tape this Monday, Kyer Elam, who did not play on Sunday with his ankle, he was a full participant in Monday's walkthrough. That's probably a good sign for Thursday. You're not going to see Trey White Thursday. They're still saying day to day. I already know you're not going to see him.
Crazy to play him on that turf.
They're not going to play him. You will see him either the following Thursday, which is weird. So the Bills play Thursday in Detroit for Thanksgiving. Then they play again. Usually that's 10 days. You get 10 days between games on a Thursday game. But they're coming back and they're playing New England on Thursday Night Football in Foxborough a week later. I think you might see Trey White then. And if you don't, the following week they'll have 10 days before they play at home against the Jets. If you ain't seeing, and by the way, Leslie Frazier today said he's getting very close. So I would expect to see him not this week, but next week.
Yeah.
Worst case, 2 weeks. If you don't see Trey by then, I don't think you're going to see Trey at all this year. So they need him.
It's going to be like the last couple of games of the year, maybe, just to see what he can do. That maybe he can play something in the playoffs, but like even then, you're not going to push him.
They're going to need him. Look, they got away with it in Miami. Tyreek Hill didn't do much. Waddle had a pretty good game, but for the most part, they got away with the injuries against Miami. They played some shitty teams, and then they got beat pretty bad these last 2 weeks by Justin Jefferson and by Amari Cooper. They're going to need him. When they play Tyreek again, Hill, they're going to need Trey White. And then, again, either Dane Jackson or if Kyrie Elam plays better, you might have both their starting corners might not be in the lineup that we saw on Sunday over the next couple of weeks. So anyway, that was bad. Tremaine Edmonds is such a polarizing figure. He's more valuable to this team when he's not playing, or you see his value, I should say, when he's not playing.
I was to say, you had half the Twitter audience going, yes, I agree with it.
Exactly.
No,
I can say he sucks, and half people are going to be like, yep. No, I actually, him not playing kind of changes my stance because I see what the alternative is. Tyrell Dodson, physical guy, he can play the run pretty good. He ain't it. He is horrific in pass coverage. I'm going to tell you, the first half of that Cleveland game, Joe, again, you might have been out doing some shoveling. You didn't get to see the whole first half. I promise you this. You know how the Bills have been their worst enemy this year? They've shot themselves in the foot. The worst, who beat the Cleveland Browns in the first half was the Cleveland Browns. They dropped probably 2 touchdowns. They were dropping passes, bad play calls, dumb penalties. You got Tyrell Dodson out there. You should be running slants to Nkoju or the other tight end or your running backs, your slot guys. Run over the middle of the field because Tyrell Dodson cannot cover. He can't cover. They should have been running across the middle almost every play for this entire game. Kareem Hunt getting him one-on-one situations. Bad play calling. So Cleveland was their own worst enemy.
That's why we've only won 3 games this year, Pat. Like
Dodson's
why
not
they're
it.
dumb.
Look, Matt Milano's their best linebacker, but Tremaine Edmonds is just as valuable. He does things that Matt Milano does things that pop. They flash. They matter. Tremaine Edmonds does things like covers tight ends really well. He takes away passing lanes. He might make the quarterback check down to the second or third or fourth progression. He does things that go under the radar really well. And the smart Bills people, the film people should try to show me this shit. And they promise me that they're telling me the truth. And I kind of take them at their word. Anyway, don't like Tyrell Dodson. So corner's a problem. Depth at linebacker is a big problem. It would be really nice because we haven't seen a lot of Tremaine and Matt Milano healthy together this year. And you're not going to see Tremaine. They're saying it's a stretcher to play on Thursday. You're a Lions fan. You might like this. Tremaine Edmonds, you're not going to see him on Thursday. So it's a chance for your tight end, whoever the hell it is now that TJ Hawkinson's gone, and your running backs to have some success, your third receivers in the middle of the field. Because if I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm Jared Goff. I'm telling you now, I'm attacking Tyrell Dodson a lot.
For me, that means hitting DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. That's what that means to me, because he's as good of a runner as he is. He's so good catching the ball too. And Jamal Williams too, I think a little bit, although he's more like the Bills had a guy. This is going to sound crazy.
Touchdown machine is what he is.
I mean, like if the Bills had a guy like that in the red zone, you wouldn't have to worry about Allen throwing the ball. Just hand it off to Williams. He's just a magnet for the end zone. All he does is score touchdowns. That's all he seems to do. Like it's wild. But yeah, passing wise, I don't know. Detroit's it's funny. Like they've won 3 in a row now, which is bizarre. Okay,
I told you 6 weeks ago they're a pretty good team, and you didn't believe me.
Well, what were they doing to prove it? They weren't doing anything to prove it. They were playing like assholes.
They were fun.
Fun on both sides.
They're fun assholes, at least.
But I mean, they got Chark back now. Chark's back out there. St. Brown's great. Goff's been fine. Like I'm the biggest critic of him. He's been totally fine. Like he's been not excellent, but like he's not throwing the ball away. He's not turning it over. He's just doing his job, throwing for like 250 yards a game, maybe a touchdown or 2. That's all I need out of him because they can run the ball really well. Like Detroit, if they get their act together, they can run the ball really well. And the line loves to hit. Like that line loves playing physical. They love to get out and block for runs. So I don't know. This matchup is only interesting now because Buffalo's kind of played like crap for, even this
Very
game.
inconsistent.
I know this, the Cleveland game, like they put up 31 points. Like, yeah, cool, but they play like dog shit for a half, like, 2.5 quarters really. Like they play like crap. So, they completely screwed themselves against Minnesota. They played garbage in the second half against Green Bay. So, I mean, there's, the Jets game, like whatever, it's fine, but like, Detroit's in a spot now where they're kind of in a groove. They love playing for Campbell. Like that's the thing. They were losing games with him in charge, and like they hated losing because they know if they keep losing, he's going to lose his job, and then what other moron coach is going to come in there and ruin things? So, so they love playing for him, but I don't know. It's so weird because they're so frustrating. You hear me talk anytime you mention them, and I just exasperated trying to talk about them. But now it's like they're not doing so bad now. Like they're kind of doing some things right. They're still kind of screwing a lot of things up, but they're not awful right now.
No, they're not. I think they're a competitive team. One last little nitpick too, because I'm kind of have my MVPs and my LVPs. This is an unpopular take, especially on Bill's Twitter, because he's such a popular guy and he's been a good story and he has been pretty good this year. But their fullback Reggie Gilliam, bad game. I just want to point that out. Bad game, couple bad missed blocks, including the 2-point conversion. Everyone wants to kill Isaiah McKenzie for not getting in. He got drilled, and that's because Gilliam whipped on a block. He also had a holding penalty, kind of ticky-tack, but you know how that goes.
Right.
That nullified what would have been a long a run by Singletary that would have got him to the goal line. So not a good game for Gilliam. Anyway, back to what you were talking about. It's kind of funny because I agree with you. And I just, when you were talking, because I never looked it up previously, I looked up the line for the game on Thursday, the betting line. And right now it's 9. I feel like that's a pretty big line for the Bills to go. I mean, Detroit's had short rest too, but they're at home. Right. This is something they do every year, play on Thanksgiving at home. Well, it's kind of the Bills are turning into a Thanksgiving team as well. But anyway,
ratings,
the Bills, Josh Allen has been a little wishy-washy of late. A lot of injuries. Detroit's played very well recently. They're at home. I feel like 9 points is kind of a lot. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. My knee-jerk reaction, I might put some thought in this. I might change my mind, Joe. By Thursday morning, I might be convinced myself the Bills are going to win by 30. This might be the game like they go and just show you who they are, like they did against the Rams. And
that'd be pretty classic Detroit. Just be like, hey, we're doing good. We're doing great. And lose by 55.
Right. So I can convince myself. But right now, my initial reaction when I look at that, it's like, I'll tell you right now, man, take the emotion out of it. If I have to bet on that game and risk my hard-earned money, I would I'd be really tempted to take Detroit plus 9 points. It's a lot of points at home.
It is, especially because like the break even is always like home team lays 3 no matter what. So I guess they're technically looking at this as like a 12-point, like kind of like a 12-point sort of thing. But ever since the Lions fired their secondary coach, and this was like 4 weeks ago, they stopped being a god awful defensive team, which maybe it's just perfect timing. Like, I don't know, but like suddenly they could defend the pass. B, they could defend the run again, which I don't know that you didn't really need to run against them. You just throw the ball all over them. It didn't matter. But they're playing better defensively. I mean, they were god awful. They were the worst defensive team in the NFL for the first 6-7 weeks of the season. Like they're horrendous. And the offense is now and there's been injuries. Chark just got back to action. Swift has been in and out of the lineup. But the offense has kind of clicked along for the most.
The line's been pretty good. The offensive line.
The offensive line
team.
It's very weird to say this, but yes, it is. And this is a team that's had shitty offensive lines for the last 50 years. So, and that's why Barry Sanders ran the way he did. he had one blocker, was Lomas Brown, and then it was 4 of the bums. But yeah, they do some things well, and when they run the ball, they run it. They do some neat schemes and stuff with the blocking to really open up holes where you're not expecting it. And these guys can hit them. Like Swift is a really good back. And so is Williams.
Yeah. They got weapons. There's no question about it. I'll tell you, and this is my honest assessment, my unemotional, unbiased assessment. If you get the Josh Allen that played against the Rams, the Titans, the Steelers, you're going to, if you're a Detroit fan, I got some bad news for you, man. Yeah. Because The Bills get up by a lot, and Detroit becomes one-dimensional, and you don't have to worry about trying to stop Williams or Swift running the ball. They become one-dimensional. It can be a long day for Detroit, but they have the ability to keep this game close. And if you're a Bills fan, you should not take this team for granted, especially what we saw a couple weeks ago when the Bills went to the Jets and just laid an egg. Because, I mean, goddamn, the Jets, how shitty do they look when they're not playing the Buffalo Bills? Zach Wilson, I think he's going to get benched this week. He played like
after
shit.
What
Then
he said? Like,
he
you
didn't
kidding
take.
me?
He
I
took
would bench
0
him for the rest of the season. Get lost, man.
Yeah, I think he lost his team by not taking any accountability whatsoever. I mean, he's got his own rookie receiver, Garrett Wilson, pissed at him. That's not going to play well. One last thing about the Bills, too. It's kind of funny pregame going into this game. So now, look, the Bills lost to Minnesota, a classic, an instant classic. The Bills should have beat Minnesota, kind of like Dallas beat them on Sunday. The Bills, it was there. Minnesota was begging to get blown out. Anyway, they lost the game. They lost to the Jets the week before. I get it. 6-3 coming into Sunday. I watched the CBS pregame, which I usually don't watch the pregame shows, but I did. And they had a segment where all 4 analysts had to pick the division winners and the 3 wild cards. And I'm like, the Bills, who are still, by the way, are the betting favorites still in Vegas to win the Super Bowl. The national media, the national analysts and TV networks have quickly fallen out of love with this team because Phil Simms and Nate Burleson both had Miami winning the division, with the Bills being the 5th seed because they'd be the top wild card. And then Bill Cowher and Boomer Esiason still had the Bills winning the division, but they had them both as the number 4 seed. I'm like, damn. And then I'm looking at the top 3 seeds, which would be Baltimore, Kansas City, and Tennessee. Those are the teams that are winning their divisions.
Beat all those teams.
Well, they've literally beat all 3 of those teams already. They literally have beaten all 3 of those teams already. Right. It's just funny how quick the national media could just jump off a team and fall in love with the next team. It's crazy. Like right now, nobody, you may as well hand the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl trophy right now. Ain't nobody beating them. You know, it's just crazy. And the Chiefs, by the way, are playing good football, but let's relax a little bit, man.
What did the Bills do to kind of earn the respect the last few weeks, though? They look bad.
Agreed. But
I mean, I get it. Everybody's going to be fickle about these things because they look like world beaters the first bunch of the season.
Sure.
Now it's like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is kind of stupid. And you're only as good as you look before, and that's kind of where they're at.
It just blows my mind. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's not egregious to say that Miami can win this division. It's not an egregious, bold, outlandish prediction at all. They could, but still, it's just funny. Like no one in that entire studio had the Bills being anything better than the 4th seed in the AFC. I found that funny.
And like I'm looking at the AFC standings. Like, okay, everybody in the East is above 500. Okay, that's weird. Baltimore and Cincy, only teams above 500 in the North. The South, Tennessee, that's it. They're the only team above 500. Like that's it. And then Kansas City, like the Chargers are 5-5, but Kansas City's 8-2, and they just beat the Chargers last night. So that's it. That's everybody. Like that should be your playoff field right there. Honestly, like just take everybody who's over 500, put them in the playoffs.
It's just crazy watching the national TV people just fall out of love with Buffalo. Buffalo Sabres fans, I think, are going to start falling out of love with the Buffalo Sabres pretty soon if something don't change. Look, I get it. I know they were a little in over their heads in the early 7-3 start. Gave fans maybe a lot of false hope, and it's a story we've seen all too many times. But 8 in a row now. Not as we tape this. The Sabres are playing tonight. You were listening Tuesday. They're playing tonight in Montreal. The Buffalo Sabres have lost 8 in a row. They're 7-11 on the season. They are 1 point ahead at least as the last time I looked. Maybe something changed on Monday night. And well, I'll put it this way. The Sabres didn't play, so it wouldn't have benefited them. They're 1 point ahead of Ottawa right now to avoid last place, not just in the Atlantic Division, but in the entire Eastern Conference. And here's a little fun fact for you, Sabre fans.
How fun is this fun fact?
My hard-hitting research tells me that if the NHL draft lottery was tonight, the Buffalo Sabres would have the 4th most ping pong balls in the lottery.
Yep.
Really? Joe, we have not even fucking had Thanksgiving dinner yet.
Yeah.
I've been in a good mood with the Sabres for months now. You remember my tirades a year or so ago. I've been in a good mood. What the hell is going on here, man? When is this thing's going to turn around? Are we going to be out of this race by the time I start going Christmas shopping? I know that the Sabres, you should not predict or project them to make the playoffs, but at least I wanted to have some meaningful hockey in the spring. And it's starting to look like they might not even have meaningful games.
Right there. Yeah.
Fucking holiday shopping season. What in the world is going on?
Well, it's the injuries are catching up, has caught up with them, but they're getting Samuelson back against Montreal. Like I cannot. Don Granato was like over the moon that Matthias Samuelson is going to be back, and that's a huge change for him. Like it's not like getting an MVP player, but it makes things easier on your defense. Like it gets you don't have to have Dahlin and power play together as a pairing like that. I don't like that because it's taking both your guys that can manage the puck and putting them together and trying to play them, 25, 30 minutes a game. And it's like, that's okay, cool. But you could also have them each play 25 minutes, on their own pair. And then you're covered for 90% of the game. That's going to help. Listen, when things get like this, it doesn't take much to kind of rattle your confidence. I mean, it goes this way for any team, but like in the Sabres case, again, it's the youth. You lose a couple of games, you're like, whatever, we'll get them next time. When you get to 7 and 8, it's kind of like, all right, like all it takes is one shitty goal against, and then suddenly you're just like, here we go again. Like the Leafs game. The first goal the Leafs score is a shot that's going to go a mile wide that goes off Tavares' stick and goes past Luukkonen. Like, all right, like okay, that's how we're starting this one out. Great, and then they give up 2 power play goals in 20 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever it was, and it's like you can't be doing stuff like that. I mean, at least power play is too many weapons, too many guys. Like you can't just give them constant opportunities. So. I mean, that's that for the Leafs game anyways. Like that's just, that's just a lot of, bad mistakes, dumb errors, things like that. The Ottawa game, like, I don't know, man, like that's, you get a tough guy like Austin Watson scores the first goal of the game for Ottawa. And you're like, oh, come on, man. And then, Thompson, Tage gets a power play goal. That's great. Not even like 2 minutes later, Ottawa gets their own power play goal to put them ahead, and then they won going away. But it's that game, the Vancouver game. Like Vancouver, that's a bad loss. That was a very bad loss by Buffalo, and it's just there's no reason for it because it was bad, bad dumb mistakes with penalties. Because the one thing you couldn't allow Vancouver to do was to get on the power play. And what do? They let them get on the power play tons of times in the game. They scored twice. Like, yeah, that's why you lose, man. Like the one good thing that team does is score on the power play, and you gave them multiple opportunities. It's like it's things like that where you're just kind of like, dude, come on, get it together, figure it out, like get this thing squared away. But it's, I'm not going to say, trust the process with any of this crap. Like I'm not going to say anything like that, but this is part of what the process is with a team that's this young. Like they got to learn how to win, but they also got to figure out how to lose and how to, not embrace losing, obviously, but like how to handle, the roller coaster of emotions that comes with losses. Like, one bad goal isn't the end of the world, and one mistake isn't the end of the world. Like there's going to be 1,000 mistakes every game. But you can't keep making the same mistakes over and over again that lead to goals against. And that's kind of an area where they've been in lately. And, they're not getting a ton of production outside of the top line, which is tough. But again, it's tons of young dudes and guys that have struggled at 5-on-5. So, I mean, Middlestat and Olofsson have been rough on 5-on-5. The young guys, like it's going to be ups and downs constantly with them. So yeah, it's, I want to, listen, they got what, 3 games this week, 4 games this week, whatever it is. I got to say that they're going to snap out of this at one of these games. I got a feeling it'll probably be Wednesday night against St. Louis because it's 90s night. The crowd's going to be pumped up and probably extra juiced up because it's Thanksgiving Eve. But
and like, sweet unis.
Yeah, sweet unis. They're going to be doing all the old 90s stuff of the game. Like it'll be fun. It'll be a fun night. People can have fanny packs. Like it's great. But it's they're gonna figure it out. Like they're gonna like. It's weird to say this because past teams have not given me any sort of reason to feel like they're gonna figure it out and they're gonna get out of it. These guys do because the talent is there. The talent is superior than what they've had before, and it's just a matter of like getting them back on track in the right way so that that they don't make some of the same errors, that they're not kind of getting scrambly after the puck and kind of losing their way with how they gotta support each other and pick each other up.
Let me put up a stat that I couldn't believe until I saw it, and I still have a hard time believing it, but it's kind of one of those, tell me if you've seen this story before when it comes to the Sabres. Listen to this, folks. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, hit that subscribe button if you're watching us. The Buffalo Sabres, this is what they do. Okay. The last 4 years, 2019 and 20, they started 8-1-1, and then they lost 10 of 12 games. 2020, 2021, 4-3-2 start, pretty good start. Then they lost 23 of 25 games. Oh my God. 21-22 last year, 5-1-1 start, very promising. And then they lost 10 of their next 12 games. This year, 7-3 start. And now this has been updated since then. They're on a 8-game losing streak. So I suppose if you're a Sabres fan right now, again, this is something that you're used to. It does not make it any more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But holy shit, man, this team just continuously year after year after year kind of teases you a little bit, gives you wave some of that candy in front of your face.
Yep.
And then it takes it away from you, man, just when you're ready to go grab it and try to eat some of it. It's just, what the hell? That just blows my mind, man. And
I'll say this. Wish was nice enough to not include the 18-19 season in there as well, because that's where they had the 10-game winning streak in November. Where they started out kind of 500, then they won 10 in a row, and
they got
oh boy, here they go, they're in first place, and then they were in first place for like a day, then they lost to Tampa, and then it was forget it, season over at that point. They lost the next 5, so you're like, oh well, all right, same old Sabres, here they are again. But
you alluded to them having 4 games coming up in the next week, and you look at that schedule. They're at Montreal tonight. And then they're at home against the Blues on Wednesday. I agree with you. That might be their best chance to get a win. New Jersey comes to town.
Blues are red hot right now. They were stinking up the house.
Maybe the retro will. Shit, man. I don't know then, because Friday night the Devils are coming to town, and they might not. If they beat Toronto, they might never lose again, man. What is it, 12, 13 in a row or something like that?
They just won number 13 in a row on Monday.
Jesus, so you got them coming to town
5-2. Like, come on.
And then you got Tampa coming to town next Monday, a week from now. So that's a 3-game homestand. St. Louis, New Jersey, Tampa. Not exactly the 3 easiest opponents right now for a homestand.
Well, look at it this way: like after Tampa, they're at Detroit, cool, and Colorado comes to town the next game.
Jesus Christ!
Well, then the Sharks are here. The Sharks stink. That's great. Columbus, they stink too. Then Pittsburgh.
I can't believe when this team was 7-3. I did not think that in a week or two I might be going out Christmas shopping, saying, "Well, there's always next year when it comes to the Sabres." I at least wanted to be flirted with. I wanted to be wined and dined a little bit and think, hey, maybe this team.
10 games.
Jesus. Before I let you go, I want to remain. I'm in a pretty good mood.
That way about it, but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's a long season. You have to. My biggest thing with watching
it ain't that long.
Well, I mean, it's long until it's short, right? Like it's my yogiism for really, but I mean, like, yeah, we're doing a thing looking at team, because there's a stat. I think it's like 77% of teams that are in a playoff spot at Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, I should say, not Canadian, because that's like the second week of the season. But 77% of teams that are in a playoff spot at Thanksgiving tend to make the playoffs. So I don't know about lottery stuff when it comes to that, but
I was going to say, what's the odds when you have the 4th most ping pong balls in the lottery as we take this? Probably not very good.
Oh, it's funny. The St. Louis Blues were last in the league. The January they won the Stanley Cup. They're last in the NHL. And
I know
that's second half
an anomaly.
Of an eternity. Like it's unbelievable. But
before I let you go, a couple of minutes here. I'm in the mood to gab. And I really don't want to talk about the Sabres anymore because I'm in a pretty good mood. And again, I've done nothing but eat and watch Christmas movies for the last 4 days. Last Thursday, so as this storm was starting, big time buzz circulating on Twitter that the shit might be over, man. Like that might have been that, like Thursday night was going to be the swan song. And I'm going to be honest with you, the combination of how bad the storm would get throughout the night and am I going to wake up with no Twitter to Friday? Almost had me sleepless all of Thursday. Were you ready to write your Twitter eulogy? Because I thought it was legit. Now, again, I don't know all the details. I didn't read all the stories, but I just know that a bunch of people lost their badges and their whatever. And there was a lot of buzz, a lot. I mean, Twitter was being dominated by talk that if this is it, what's your last tweet or what's your final hot take, this and that. It was actually made for a really fun night, to be honest with you. Twitter was actually lit that night. It was a lot of fun, but
it's like an Irish wake, really.
Yeah, it was. It was like an Irish wake. And I don't know, man. Did you buy it? Like, did you start thinking in your mind? Because listen, we're content creators at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You have a podcast, you have a Substack, you write for Bleacher Report, you're on Twitter a lot, you have a good following. People turn to you for updates, banter, all kinds of shit. So say what you want about Twitter. A lot of people, bitch about how much it sucks, this and that. I think I'm not afraid to admit it. Twitter is a big part of what I do. It's a big part of this podcast. It's a big part of my growing, is whether it's a brand or just as a person. I was kind of like almost borderline sick to my stomach. I'm like, how did this go from, oh, haha, Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter a couple months ago and you're going to get Trump tweets again and this and that. I'm like, and then to the point where it's like, and what, 3 weeks later, Twitter's going to be fucking done. Right. And there isn't going to be no more Twitter. I started getting nervous. I don't know if you did. I certainly did. I'm admitting it.
I had to start thinking like, okay, what's the next place that everybody's going to wind up at? You have to start like locking down, like getting new accounts and getting that stuff squared away, which is just it's
follow my Facebook page. Yeah.
Right. Go to Facebook, go to Mastodon, go to whatever stupid social site's going to try to fill the void after the fact. But like, I tend, it's really tough to, to follow stuff like that when it starts to take off on Twitter. Cause again, it's a hive mind because it's just everybody that's on there, and that everybody that's on there has been on there probably for a while. And like, that's kind of how we've, kind of all like cut our teeth with how to do things. So
yes,
when there's the possibility that's there, and that possibility is obviously there. I mean, megalomaniac billionaire would easily set $44 billion on fire just to get rid of something that annoys the garbage out of them. Like that's the kind of thing idiot rich people would do.
Sure.
But like so much of this site is reliant on, getting emergency information out there to get stuff like that out. It's almost, I'm not going to say it's not a utility. It's nothing like that, but it's, of the social medias out there, it's the one that has the most important usage.
Agreed.
For what it provides and what it does. Now, selfishly, I have no career if I don't, if Twitter wasn't around. Like, because for those of us like you and I that are very shameless self-promoters, it's the best thing to do possible. Absolutely. Because until the last few years where they started monkeying around with the timelines, it was straight, as it happens, tweets coming out, news, whatever. It's like, as it happens, everything happening in real time. Like, that's great. And for us, it was perfect because like if people are watching games, you got your eye on Twitter to see what people are snarking about or, yelling about, or, they get a video or something, whatever. But for like, for me, like, I don't have any career without that. Easy. I mean, it's 100% that's easy, because when I started writing, and started doing it as like a, as a blogger, like doing stuff on the side when I was in radio, that was like, so I wasn't getting, because the hockey scene in Albany wasn't, it's not great for pro hockey. It wasn't, there's no NHL scene up there, like whatever. But I was like, well, I'm writing about the NHL. So who, I can't reach out locally. Nobody locally is going to give a shit. So I was like, all right, well, there's a whole world out there. Let me start throwing my link around to the rest of the world. And yeah,
right.
People started reading it. People started to like it. It was like, cool. even like the people, the people at like the radio station I was working at, they're like, how are you getting so many hits? We don't even promote your site. And I go, well, maybe you should start doing that locally because I'm doing all the work to promote
Yeah.
the damn site. Like, that's why we're getting hits. And they're like, whoa, keep it up. And I'm like, pay me money. How about that? Providing you with web hits, man. Like, come on. But I mean, like, but Twitter makes that easy. Twitter makes it so easy to find your people, your community, and all that stuff. And, you know, it's very easily searchable. You can find everything you want. You can find everything you don't want on there too. But
Sure.
But it's, I don't know. It's to me, it's a necessity, but I'm obviously extremely biased in that.
Yeah, and so am I. And we're in the same boat.
We hate it because it gets stupid and, you know, you get,
it's a cesspool at times.
crazy
And
people
you
come
see
out.
you gotta, it's like you gotta deal with the worst to be able to use it to
Right.
you know, to your liking, the way you need to. Put it this way, Joe, if you said pick one and you gotta get rid of all the rest, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever the hell is out there, it would take me a half a second to say I need to keep Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter to me is the most important. A lot of things you said, it has helped me grow this podcast. It helps me grow my brand. It has helped me reach out to people to get them on this show, you know, sending people tweets or DMs. It keeps you engaged with the people who do read your work, who listen to your podcast or watch you do video spots and stuff like that. It's a great fact checker. You know, like I can't tell you how many times somebody has said, you know, I don't know why it's popping in my head, but like when Kobe Bryant, when that shit started going down, I didn't know what to believe. Kept seeing all these things. And I'd go on Twitter and you get trusted media people that you trust. And when they start reporting on it, then you believe it. Sports rumors all the time. You know, I'm hearing this, you know, Odell Beckham's going to the Bills. It's a done deal. It's what I hear. You go on Twitter. I'm like, all right, Adam Schefter ain't tweeting that. Ian Rappaport ain't tweeting that. Shit's not no done deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you could fact check things like that and things happen just in real time and instant. Like you, so it's like instant news. Yeah, don't go. I know, fuck around with something else, Elon Musk. Don't get rid of Twitter.
Why didn't you go buy Facebook? Get rid of that friggin' site.
Get rid of Facebook. Exactly. I don't give a shit about Facebook's my family and friends, and I don't give a shit about them. And I'm kind of behaved on Facebook, but I really don't care. I'm putting pictures up of dogs and, you know, my kids. I don't give a shit about any of that. I need to have my brand on Twitter, and I need my real news and real.
I don't want to have to create a professional Facebook page. Consider it. So much about Facebook just bugs the crap out of me, and I'm just like, it's like I had one for my old blog, and I got rid of it because it got to be annoying to take care of. I'm like, fuck, I might have to really do this again because like Facebook's the other, like that's the next one, but it's like they don't do anything right. Like they literally do nothing right because Zuckerberg's a dope too. But
I use Facebook for completely different reasons than I do Twitter. Like Twitter, like we talked about, that's the podcast brand. That's my news gathering information. That's my engaging with fans.
It's your social outlet
and talking. It's my social outlet. Facebook is family and friends, and it's also personal. Like my privacy settings, only friends can see the statuses that I put up. And honestly, Joe, the real reason is I kind of, you know, people might have a perception of me from if they listen to this podcast or Twitter, because for the most part, I sound like I know what I'm talking about and being professional. I'm kind of a dick and an asshole on Facebook because they're my family and my friends, and they know who I am, and I don't give a shit. I don't got to be something that I'm not. I'm telling you, I got a lot of. I mean, there's some people that I am friends with, like from the media, because I'm friends with them, like Jay Skursky and Tyler Dunn. Some of these people, they're friends. Tim Graham, but then there's other people. A lot of media people who have friend request me and they're still left on requests. It's just like, they think that I don't want them to see this side of me, you know, the side of me that's posting pictures of me fucking pass out on the couch at 8:00 on a Saturday night. Cause one of my dickhead friends took a picture of me passed out. You know what I'm saying? I don't need them seeing that shit on Facebook. So you can shoot Facebook to the moon, man. I really don't care. Just don't lose Twitter. One last thing, then I promise you I'm gonna let you go. It's really late, by the way, but no, this is like self-indulging time, and it's Thanksgiving. So, well, actually, Thanksgiving got nothing to do with it. But you're a wrestling fan. I'm a wrestling fan. We don't never talk about wrestling. Nope. Pretty significant event over the weekend, though. AEW had their pay-per-view, and MJF is now the AEW World's Champion, and I'm here for it, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it. I love it. That media scrum was awesome. Yep. I think he's going to be he's going to be what AEW needs as a champion, man. I just think they strap that rocket to him. He's going to the moon. I love it.
Yeah, he's almost the way he carries himself. He's almost the kind of guy you don't need to put a belt on him to have him do it. But
Right.
given the situation they've been in with all the stuff that blew up with with Punk
Agreed.
and all that stuff, like
They need a long,
you
credible
needed
run.
somebody. Plus, like poor Moxley, that dude was supposed to go on vacation when all that stuff blew up, and then they're like, "Sorry, dude, we got to put the belt on you for now. You got to carry the show for a bit."
That
Like,
sucks. And he
gets to go on a break now. So it's like, good, it's good, but like
he keeps getting called on to do it. Yeah, he carried a company to CM Punk beat you, carried a company to MJF beat you.
Yeah,
but
listen, some guys like only the best do that. Like, only the best guys can do that because they don't need the belt. They don't need the strap to carry themselves and to have success. Some guys just don't need it ever. Like that's the beauty of wrestling, man. It's like it's not always about who does, who should have it, who deserves it, based on like, how the matches go, all that stuff, like whatever. It's the guys that can run with it, that can carry the show and do everything they need without having to have the belt. Those are the guys you can build on. And that's kind of like what they have all throughout AEW. There's a ton of guys, a ton of people that can just work. Like they're really great workers. And this is probably getting like too much inside baseball for a lot of people because they're just like, I just like to see the people fly. Like I get it. But man, like the way MGF carries, like the way he leans into that character so hard, like it's impressive because like even like radio interviews he'll just be doing, and it's like he's locked in from the second the mic goes on. He is that character. Mic goes off, he might still be that character.
I'm glad you said that.
Zoned in on it. It's almost weird. It probably is weird, but like he owns it from beginning to end, and that's the most impressive thing. Like you think back in the day, like was Hulk Hogan out on the streets? No. Of course he wasn't. He was, he's just Terry Bollea, just running around being a musclehead. MJF, like he's got his own private life and everything. Like that's good for him. But like, if he's interacting with people like, hey man, I know you, and then he's just like, yeah, well, fuck you. And that's how he carries himself. Like it's not done out of like him being just like just trying to be a shithead. It's like that's what his character is. Like
he might be that for real too, man.
It's true. He might be, but
it kind of reminds me a little bit, not the same type of character because they were different types of heels, but Ric Flair. Like Ric Flair was an extension of his real self. The women, the fancy clothes
version of him. Yeah,
I feel like MJF is like a slightly exaggerated version. He probably is that real prick, that heel in real life. I think it's fucking fantastic, man.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
I'm a great heel is fun. Like that's the best part. Like baby faces, they're cool. Like that's fine, but like
even when I was a kid, I like
guys.
I like the heels.
Stone Cold was the biggest guy ever because he was a shithead to everybody.
Sure,
and like he gave people the finger, and like he had all the great catchphrases, said all the right things, and then first of all, MJF, like the press conference. First of all, I can't get over that they do press conferences after pay-per-views. Like that just blows my mind. Like, wait, really? We're doing this? Like this is just a full extension of like what these characters are.
People are watching them.
But well, I mean, obviously after Punk almost starts a fight and starts shooting on everybody, yeah, I would too. But like with MJF, when he just closed it, he's like, "Thank you, fuck you, bye." Like that's perfect. That's all that needed to be said.
I want that to be like my permanent podcast outro, man. I'm just going to play a clip of MJF saying, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get out of here because we're going down a rabbit hole, Joe and I, that this could become a 3.5 hour podcast if we start talking about wrestling. Give Joe a follow on Twitter at Joe Yerdon. Hopefully there is still a Twitter to keep following Joe Yerdon on. Have a good week, everybody. I think, I don't want to say for sure, I think we're going to be doing a podcast. Not Joe, but I think I'm going to be doing a podcast after the Bills game for Friday. But anyway, a significant game. It should be a fun game. The Detroit Lions on Thursday. Joe's favorite team. I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to talking to you next week when we can kind of talk about this game a little bit. But thanks for doing the pod, bud, and have a great Thanksgiving, man.
Yeah, you too, man. Have fun with the family, and hope all the food's good and the football. Hope your team loses this week.